Here at Reach Out Reptiles, we are all about dwarf and super dwarf reticulated pythons. And in this video, I want to do a deep dive into one of my personal all-time favorite morphs that has been bred down into the little guys, and that is the underappreciated, the always spontaneous titanium. Now, titanium has a really special historical connection with me sentimentally. I used to not like it at all. I don't know if I should be saying that in a video all about the morph at all, but I'll tell you, when I was a lot younger, I preferred what was also another partially patternless mutation at the time that was brand new called the golden child. I thought, very cool, in one generation you can breed it across, it takes a lot of the pattern out, and it makes a mostly patternless snake. That's gotta win. Then I got a job working at Prehistoric Pets. These are the founding breeders of the titanium mutation, and holy smokes have they put it into so many cool color and pattern combos over the years. So they really did a lot to pioneer this animal. Once I began working there, I started to see what I thought a lot of people probably couldn't about this spectacular recessive mutation. First of all, in this mutation, it actually is a patternless, or more accurately, partially patternless mutation. So it removes certain elements of the reticulated python pattern while leaving other ones there. Now that's really important because as you begin selective breeding, if you have an all patternless animal, you're done. There's nothing to select. You've got nothing there, and so you've got nothing to choose from. However, in a partially patternless animal, something that may still have, like this little girl, spots down the side, or a chrome stripe down the back, potentially big old tuxedo bordered stripes down the side, and all kinds of things in between. In every clutch of titaniums, you can actually get a ton of different looks. In fact, one of the nicknames that we referred to it as when I worked at Prehistoric was the Spontaneum. And that makes it a lot of fun. In fact, sometimes you get this kind of like having to work around the natural elements of it aspect to the selective breeding. Something's different from every other morph. See, if you like a morph that's striped, you can put the stripes into things. But if you're going for that striped titanium, you have to not only hit the combo to get the titanium plus whatever other morph combo, but you also have to get the striped variant. You could get a spotted variant, you could get a pixelated variant, and you just never know which way it's gonna go, making it super, super exciting, waiting for the day as a breeder that we all love when that first little baby nose first peeks out of the egg. So as I began working there and photographing all of the babies for the website, I really started to notice that spectacular mutations like, let's say a golden child or an albino or something that's like super different, super, let's say artificial looking, once you got used to seeing a certain number of them, they became rather dull and you really had to work hard to change it up. On the other hand, with the titaniums, there was this element to them where each different animal had different parts throughout its body expressing different levels of reduced or intensified pattern. So not only did I never get used to looking at titanium to titanium, but I would find myself staring at one animal all day long sometimes. Don't tell my old boss, he probably wouldn't appreciate it. I was hourly. And this was one of my favorite things about the titanium morph. Now, I certainly appreciate that this morph cropped up in reticulated pythons. First of all, we all love reticulated pythons. We know they're the coolest snake on the planet. They just sometimes get too big to have a whole bunch of them or for a whole bunch of different people to be able to keep them, right? And so that's where the super dwarf side of it comes in. Aside from that though, they have got to be one of the most naturally beautiful animals with bright yellows, dark blacks, vivid whites, and a variety of different silver to gray areas on their body. Now, normally those separated individual colors follow a very specific reticulated net-like pattern, which is where they get their name. But with the titanium, the boundaries of those patterns completely go away, and you find stripes and spots and blotches and bleached out or darkened areas of each of these different colors within the palette all over different areas of the snake, which is super, super cool. Now, the morph was named after the original wild-caught imported animal who had a very dark metallic stripe down his back. So he had the sides that were like a bright gold, and then that solid back stripe with just the faintest remnants of like little kind of pinstripe titanium black borders down the sides of that chrome area, separating it from those yellowish sides. And when you look at the adults, it's not hard to see why they were named after such an exotic metal. Now, because I worked at a breeder that was probably producing more of these visual titaniums than anyone else in the world, and certainly in more different varieties by crossing them into other color mutations, I just absolutely started to fall in love. I can't tell you how many memories I have of the first of a new titanium combo coming out of the egg. And as I sat there, like with these animals maybe a foot or so from my face, just staring at the modeling that each individual scale had, I began to dream about putting them into my favorite reticulated python bloodlines, which were the dwarfs. However, breeding a new recessive mutation is always a very significant event when they crop up in dwarf and superdwarf bloodlines, because it takes so long to hit that minimum industry standard of 50% superdwarf to call something a superdwarf reticulated python. And even though I don't know that there could be a bigger fan of titaniums or dwarf reticulated pythons, I wasn't the first one to actually make these animals. You see, my story was being mirrored by somebody else dreaming about these incredible mutations from a long time ago. All right, guys, it's late, and we can't keep them up too long because I sprung it on them today, right?
Yeah.
Can I call you today and say, hey, I'm coming over?
Yep.
So, but I know you've all been wanting to see the private collection of new shed serpents, aka Chris McVicar. We're going to see a little bit tonight, and then we're all going to go to bed.
Yeah, got to get up early. So.
Not together.
Yeah, no, definitely not. He's got his own room. See my pride and joy from last year, my 50% super dwarf titanium male.
Oh my gosh, look at that.
The striping on this dude he's definitely the best looking titanium I've ever made.
Your bloodline too just always blows me away with like the inky blacks, bright whites, and crazy amount of gold in there. That guy's beautiful. So this is something that I've always said. You were asking me about what other morphs I want to do in Superdwarf, and honestly, my answer is like none. If someone else will do them, you know, like it's so much to develop.
It's a lot of work.
A new recessive gene, and then actually get it to where it's like consistently small results in your snake. It just takes forever.
I'm 10 years in on titaniums, and I haven't made a visual codon yet.
Yeah,
like it takes so long.
So when Chris McVicar actually produced this little girl right here, I gladly snapped her up from him. But unbeknownst to him, at the time, I was also working a side one, my own bloodline, where I was just awaiting a visual titanium male to go with what I thought was probably one of the most stunning color combos, especially for an incomplete dominant mutation in reticulated pythons when bred with titaniums, and that's the platinum. Chris is being very, what would you call it, Chris?
That smooth, nice, creamy colors and stuff of my line, and then the crisp colors of yours. Like, I think it's going to mix really well.
Mine look a lot more like this, kind of like the silvers and the grays and the, kind of sprinkling and the chaos and dirtiness. And yours are like the super clean, bright, kind of the difference between this look on an animal where it's very clean and nothing in the background, and this look where it's like very dark and dirty. Now, just recently, we actually managed to produce the first platinum titaniums by taking one of Chris's original titanium superdwarf males and breeding it into a platinum. It was a poshet titanium female that we had. And here's where I'm going to go back to where I say recessive. This morph was classified as a recessive mutation. However, the het form of titanium was so visually different from any of the normal reticulated pythons that it was actually given its own name, which was the Citron. So a Citron or het titanium reticulated python has all of that wild type color and pattern that you would expect. However, it seems to be kind of cleaned up and amped up in different areas. One Citron to the next within a clutch, just like one titanium to the next, can have dramatically different looks. The name Citron itself came from the intense yellows that begin to be expressed within the heads. They're extremely easy to pick out from a normal in 90% of the cases. So say you've got that golden pattern to the black dorsal edging of a reticulated python. In a Citron, it may envelop and wrap around, even like mirroring itself onto the belly or creating a brilliant yellow head. And when you couple it with something like platinum, which is also a color enhancing mutation, it can actually double down on that effect, having giant swaths of intensely bright colored areas on an animal that's technically considered a wild type. Because of this, the titanium project actually has kind of a second layer of usefulness, which is stacking extra intensity on top of any other bloodlines or combo projects that you would want to do. Now, it was not by mistake that I put platinum into titanium first, because I've been dreaming about this specific combo, knowing what the recipe of ingredients did for a very long time.
And then maybe one day make some annery titaniums?
Yeah. Oh, heck yeah. I have a specific combo I'm going from, but I definitely can't tell you because we're in a friendly race here. So.
Right.
Okay, so now that we're out of Oklahoma, let me tell you what my dream project is. So we have produced these platinum titaniums, which standing next to a normal titanium brightens the color insanely and gives that golden wash throughout. It also has, again, different pattern elements, like on this baby where it actually looks pixelated like a 1980s Atari game. Both platinums and citrons, as they grow, tend to gain intensity when it comes to the brightness of gold and yellow. And those colors are packed on top of this like deep, rusty brown metallic base that is the titanium reticulated python. Now, if you're a true fan of these Morph Spotlight videos, you probably remember back a few years to one of my other favorite mutations. This is a spoiler alert, or what do you call it in a video? Foreshadowing of this dream combo that I had, which was the anerythristic, where it takes that rusty brown orangey base and shifts it in a very colorful anerythristic to these gorgeous greenish highlights. Unfortunately, those green highlights are never fully realized being on top of this dark kind of charcoal gray background that they have. So the idea I began to have, especially as I stared at these intense orangey yellow pixelated platinum titaniums that were beginning to be produced by prehistoric pets, I couldn't help but think about what would happen if you took the brightening and color intensity of the platinum, which removes that deep dark base and kind of lightens it up. It's like halfway to a leucistic animal, right? Then you shift all of the orange areas that flank the dorsal pattern from orangey brown to like a greenish gold color. And then boom, all of a sudden the secret ingredient, using the titanium to unlock that green area from being confined to one part of the snake and washing over the entire animal. Guys, I think that this might be the key to making a gorgeous, bright, lime green, almost green tree python-esque superdwarf reticulated python. Now, like I said before, I would definitely prefer not to bear the brunt of a recessive project all on my own. So huge shout out to Chris for the work that he's done with these titaniums. What do you guys think? Is there a certain retic morph that we've never covered in a morph spotlight here on the channel that you guys would like to see? If so, drop it in the comments and let me know. And as a little bonus for our patrons, special thank you to you guys for allowing us to do all the things that it is that we do here besides just breeding reticulated pythons. But they get to watch an entire room tour at Chris McVicar at New Shed Serpents. So if you want to get in on that action, join Patreon on the link below. We'll catch you next time. Oh.